Now, I'm joined by a Member of Parliament, Danny Kruger. He's a Conservative member from Devizes. And I think at the weekend, he was speaking at a private function, but there's no such thing as private when you're elected as a Member of Parliament, Danny. And you said that after 13 years of Tory rule, at least I believe you said this, we leave the country sadder, less united and less conservative. And unless we do something, we face obliteration.
Well, let me explain all that, Nigel. The comments were made some months ago at a party conference at what I thought was a gathering of friends, but somebody recorded it. Turns out not to be the case. But no, as you say, everything's public, and that's fine. And what I actually said was, if we don't change course, we face obliteration. Yeah. And if we lose the election next year, this year, we will have left the country less divided and less conservative. And that's my great regret, and I think it's what the public feel overall. Those who voted for us in 2010, 2015, all these elections, voted for conservatism. And there are very good reasons why it's been so difficult. Let's acknowledge the state of the finances, the public finances that we inherited, all of the problems that have happened over the last 14 years. I still think we have the chance to demonstrate to the country that we are the party that they put into power, that we stand for their values and their interests. And I co-chair in Parliament a group that we call ourselves the New Conservatives, because we were all elected since 2016, since that great moment when the public told the politicians they wanted their country back and they wanted the government to vote to govern for them. It happened again in 2019 when I was elected, and a great statement by the country of what they wanted their politicians to do. Again, for reasons that we can understand and explain, it's been really difficult to deliver for them, but I still think we can do it. What's going on in Parliament at the moment over migration is a really important example of that. But we've got to demonstrate to the public that we're on their side.
We can argue. Look, we can argue about deficits and national debt, but let's not do that now. Let's stick with one very important issue. There is little doubt in my head that it was getting back control of our borders that was the key issue in getting Brexit over the line, and I'm sure you would agree with that. Yeah. You probably saw that yourself out campaigning. I mean, what is driving people to distraction is, of course, the cross-channel boats and indeed the legal levels of migration, reaching levels we couldn't have even dreamt of in Tony Blair's day. Both party leaders have put great store by stopping the boats. Yeah. Really interesting that today Sir Keir Starmer did not want to discuss the post office, just wanted to talk about Rwanda, because what I think he was doing, well, partly deflecting away, perhaps from his role as Director of Public Prosecutions, but looking to build the Conservative splits in Parliament. Now, just explain to our audience, today there have been a number of amendments put down to the Rwanda legislation from your side of the argument. What is it you're trying to achieve with this legislation?
So the first thing to say is the bill is a good one. Overall, it does a set of really important things. We should have done them before. They're disapplying parts of the Human Rights Act, explaining that you can't use lots of spurious human rights claims to stop a removal. But it doesn't go quite far enough. There's a small number of tweaks that we think the bill needs in order to ensure that it works to stop the boats. Because the only way to stop the boats is to ensure that if you cross the channel illegally, you are swiftly detained and removed, either back to your home country or to a safe third country like Rwanda. What we're suggesting is that the bill needs to be tightened in a couple of key respects, further disapplications of parts of the Human Rights Act, and we need to signal very clearly in law that the European Court of Human Rights has no jurisdiction to stop a policy passed by the British Parliament. The Prime Minister has said that he believes that, which is really welcome. We want to see it in black and white in the law.
I've heard of this before. I've heard all this before. This is a replay of the arguments around our membership of the European Union. The Conservative Party insisting, as they were for years, we should stay part of the European Union, and we can do this and we can do that, and it won't be a problem. And time again, it proved that through the European Court of Justice, it was a problem. And I'm going to put this to you for a second. I understand your intentions, that you don't want a court in Strasbourg, some one individual at 10 p.m. at night to overrule the decision of the British government. I get what you're trying to do, but isn't the truth of this that we've signed an international treaty, we're a law-abiding country, we accept the rules of clubs that we join or we leave them, and that actually the ECHR has supremacy over British Parliament acts?
That is a question for us, whether we accept that or not, Nigel. Parliament is sovereign. Nobody disputes that. It is up to us whether we accept the rulings of the European Court. And the problem is that for the last 20 years, since Tony Blair's government, The consensus in Whitehall has been we should accept what the European Court tells us. We don't think we need to do that. By the way, I'd leave the ECHR tomorrow. I think it served its purpose. I would leave personally. I think it's a great document, a noble statement of important
75 years
principles.
Ago. Yeah.
It doesn't work now, not because there's anything wrong with the text, but because of the way courts in Strasbourg, and I'm afraid to say in the UK, apply the convention. So I would leave, but in practice, we don't have to do that in order to get this policy to work. We can ensure that the flights take off to Rwanda. We can stop the boats, it is my belief, by ensuring that this bill works, by disapplying the Human Rights Act, which brings the ECHR into
Danny, it's not going to happen, mate.
I appreciate that you would like a simpler... I know you'd like a simpler,
I've seen
bigger...
it all before.
Well, no, you haven't seen this case before.
I've seen the arguments over whose law was supreme before. And here's the problem. And I don't doubt your sincerity on this for one moment. I believe you when you say what you say. Here's the problem. Number one, do you actually believe that Rishi Sunak would go against a judgment of the ECHR
He has said
court?
so. So this is why we need to put it into black and white, that's what he will do. Because in a sense, and you all, Nigel, you understand this, there is an establishment at work in our country, the government legal service, the Whitehall machine, which has enormous power because of the advice that it gives to the government. We need to specify explicitly to every Home Office official, every lawyer, every court, that what Parliament wishes is that people who